morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. We are just giving it a couple extra seconds here while we welcome you for people to join as you are joining rapidly. To begin, just from myself and my co-host, I really want to say thank you very much for being here, for taking the time out of your busy days to join us, to learn a little bit about the ANSI ISEA Z358.1 shower and eye wash compliance and our masterclass for you today. As we get moving, please keep in mind that we'll have a Q&A section at the end. So keep those questions at the top of your mind or write them down for now and ensure to submit them via the question section on the control panel. Up at the top right, there's a chat section, there's a question section. Make sure to throw them in the questions and we will be sure to get to those at the end of the webinar. So please post those questions, use that control panel, and then any questions that we cannot address for you, because my co-host and I are going to go over them thoroughly. Anything we don't have time for, because there's always a ton. There's always a bunch. You do a great job of submitting those questions. Whatever we can't get to, we will put together a Q&A document with all the questions and all the answers answered from myself and my co-host and sent to you via a follow-up email. And we'll have that to you shortly after the webinar. Look for it about 24 hours after the webinar. We'll have that in your inbox. Now, this is recorded. The webinar will be on demand and sent to you in a follow-up email. You'll have the link so that you can share this, you can rewatch it, you can utilize this as a future resource for yourself and for reference. Also, we'll be launching poll questions throughout the webinar. My co-host, who I'll introduce you in one more slide, will be launching those throughout. There's very few of them, but we greatly appreciate your participation in those. It means a lot to us. It helps us to continue to improve this product for you and to understand what your needs are and what you're looking for. A survey will also be sent out after the webinar, and we'll give you a chance to have Haws and us buy you coffee. So we'll send you a gift card for your participation in that survey. So please look forward to that. And you'll see that again about 24 to 48 hours after the presentation. Now, my name is Justin Dunn. I am the Field Marketing Manager here at Haws. Wildly passionate about the Z358.1 standard and ADA standards and et cetera, and safety in general. And this is one of my favorite things to do. Is this webinar and sharing information and teaching people about safety and what to look out for and how to utilize the Z358.1 standard for on-site safety and to improve the overall quality of your employees' experience at work. With me is my co-host. If you'll introduce yourself really quickly, please, Samantha.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha Bozen. I'm the product content coordinator here at Haws. I'm very excited to nerd out about all things ANSI compliance with you, and I'll be managing the polls and giving you guys some resources at the end.
Samantha coordinates the heck out of that content. She'll be on the back end of the webinar and helping me with the Q&A section and to give you some additional resources towards the end of the webinar, and of course launching the polls, which we will get to our first one here soon. But first, we have to talk about the agenda for today. What is the ANSI ISEA Z358.1-2014 R2020 standard? That's revision 2020 standard. We'll talk about that. We'll get into the significant requirements of the standard and give you a little bit of information on how to test for each of those requirements. What do I do? Do I just grab a tape measure? Do I get the test bucket and the sock and run it? We'll walk through all of that and give you some insight on how to do that. We'll talk about best practices for emergency equipment, resources for achieving compliance, and we'll do the Q&A at the end. We'll add a bunch of the asked questions, and we'll get to as many as we can within reason, and then again, we'll answer the rest after the webinar and send it in an document to you so that you can benefit from everybody's curiosity. Now, what is the ANSI ISEA Z358.1-2014 standard? To understand the standard and how to utilize it, we have to understand OSHA and we have to understand what their requirements are. Now, OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and they are responsible for regulating emergency shower and eye wash facilities. Most people are familiar with OSHA. If you're not familiar with OSHA, you both want to and be familiar with them and don't typically want to meet them. It can be a very positive experience if you're paying attention and you're doing what they're telling you to do because they are focused on your facility's overall health and safety administration and improving that worksite safety. And if you're not doing what they're telling you, I'll give you some examples of what happens here soon. Now, OSHA's standard is 29 CFR 1910.151C for general industry. Under medical services and first aid, they have a paragraph here, and it states where the eyes or body of any person may be exposed to injurious corrosive materials, suitable facilities for quick drenching or flushing of the eyes and body shall be provided within the work area for immediate emergency use. That's great. That tells us we need an eye wash. We need a shower. If we have corrosive materials, something hazardous, we're going to need something to protect us from that. The problem is this doesn't give me any other information. This is it. It's all on the screen. And that is why OSHA references the Z358.1 standard, because this doesn't tell us enough. Where, how, when, all of that information is missing here, and we need that information to successfully prepare a safety first aid emergency washing program at work. So what is the Z358.1 standard doing? Well, it's lowering overall injury and fatalities at work, lowering general workplace risk, and lowering lost time and money for both the employee and for the employer. It is protecting you and that employee, the employer and the employee, from all the ugly stuff that's going to happen after an incident, right? Because if you show up to work, there's an agreement there. I'm going to come do this job for you. You're going to give me a sweet paycheck. And at the end of the day, I get to go home in the exact same condition that I showed up to work. Maybe more tired, but other than that, I'm unharmed. And if you provide equipment that is not successfully providing those first aid services and somebody needs it, that's when the ugly stuff happens, the litigation and things of that nature. This is insurance against that stuff. Okay, this protects you both and will greatly improve site safety. Now, OSHA has stepped up their enforcement, particularly for employers who have a history of serious or repeated violations, which are two of the most serious violations. On August 1st, 2016, OSHA fines are increased for the first time since 1990, which was too long, by 80%. And the problem was they weren't adjusting for inflation. And effective January 2nd in 2018, OSHA fines will now increase an additional 2% to account for inflation year over year and ensuring that those fines fit today rather than 35 years ago. So just to give you some examples, this is all public information. You can find this on OSHA. They always have their fines and their reasoning and everything on the website, and you can go look those up. I just wanted to give you some examples, what some of this looks like from the low end to the high end, right? Usually a penalty where, for property restoration or a spaghetti factory or whatever, it is so a wild array of different companies that, of course, utilize eye washes and safety showers. You can find them everywhere. So on the low end, I'm just looking on the right-hand side of the screen here. I'm going to read the violation for that bottom right one there. In Boston, employees not provided with eye washes capable of 15-minute flushing where corrosive cleaners were in use. That was probably the first finger wag from OSHA. They got a almost $4,000 penalty, which is, I mean, a bummer. You don't want to pay that money, but that's what it is. And then on the flip side of that, a much higher Bay Area Athletic Club. This is in Coos Bay. Employees working with extreme pH chemicals, not provided approved eye wash and or safety shower stations. Almost $200,000. And this is usually a repeated violation or a serious violation, something not warranting a $4,000 finger wag. It's something much more serious. So they're kind of all over the place. Now, the standard itself was written by the ISEA, that's the International Safety Equipment Association. ANSI works as kind of the vehicle for distribution for those standards and for housing them, but the ISEA is the association that wrote the standard. Haws sits on the board, as well as some other manufacturers, and we all work tirelessly. Josh, my homie down the hallway, helps to constantly improve the standard and works with the other manufacturers to help improve what is required there. Now, OSHA references the ANSI standard during site inspections and violation reporting and is the recognized source of guidance to comply with their 1910.151C. Now, the standard itself was first published in 1981. It's been revised in 1990, 98, 2004, 2009, 2014. We can expect a new version soon, I really hope. 2009, some of the revisions included a temperature range for water delivery, simultaneous use requirements, and testing requirements, while 2014 was more geared towards manufacturers and the design, manufacturing, installation of emergency showers, equipment installation locations, and adjusted measurements for the equipment itself. Now, I want to get into the significant requirements of the standard and talk to you about how to test. But first, I told you it was coming up soon. We're going to launch poll question number 1. Samantha, if you will, please.
Thanks, Justin. Our first poll question of the day. I hope everyone's ready to get that clicker ready. It is, how often do you test equipment? Please do not answer if not applicable. Your choices are weekly, monthly, yearly, do not test, or unsure. Thank you guys very much for all the participation. We're just gonna give it a few more seconds just to make sure everyone can get their answers in. Thank you very much. These are very helpful when we get the results back so we can gear it towards your needs. So thank you very much. I'll go ahead and wrap it up.
I think that's both interesting for us as the manufacturer and interesting for you to kind of see where everybody else is, lying as far as those answers go, and gives you some good insight. So thank you very much for that participation. We greatly appreciate it. Now, weekly testing and annual inspections. Okay, we're going to get into what's actually required. What do we have to do? Now, on a weekly basis, the emergency equipment needs to be activated. Okay, each of the devices. So if there's a eye face wash like you see here in the photo, and there's a shower head, you need to activate both of those. Okay, activation needs to ensure that there is water flow to the heads of the device. So you have to verify, yes, there's water flow here, yes, there's water flow there, and the duration of those activations have to be long enough to clear out the stagnant water sitting in the supply line. That's really what's at the core of this requirement. Is what we're doing is ensuring that we're clearing out any potential bacteria, growth, and nastiness in that supply line. So in an emergency, that is not, you're not getting a face full of Legionella or other bacteria in your potentially open wounds, okay? And dealing with other consequences of that on the way to the hospital. Now, portable equipment, non-plumbed, is a visual inspection. All you need to do is open the tank, ensure that the water line is being met at the manufacturer's required level, and you're all set. Sign the test tag. Definitely use test tags if you're not using test tags, and you're all set for the day. Come back next week and recheck. Now, I know you're asking yourself, but Justin, what happens if I don't test? And if you're not laughing on the other side of the screen, I'd be amazed, because this is ridiculous. And I mean, you have your chocolate wedding fountain on the left. You've got the Gatorade and coffee and oil or concentrated evil, one of those things in the top left-hand corner. That's nobody wants a face full of that, and you'd be amazed at just how common this is. We have to get those supply lines cleared out. We really need to make sure that the water that is exiting the equipment is clean, potable water, and is most useful for cleaning out your wounds and cleaning off the chemicals and other nasty stuff on you. Okay. Now, on an annual basis, this is our checklist on the right-hand corner from Haws. You will totally get one of these. Our checklist is awesome, but on an annual basis, you have to inspect the piece of equipment from head to toe. We've got to do everything. Okay. We have to measure the amount of water coming out of the shower, the height of the pool rod, all of those things that I'm going to cover on the rest of the webinar with you. Okay. I'll tell you how to do it, what to look for, what's required. All right. But we have to test it fully on an annual basis. That will bring us to poll question number 2.
Great, thanks, Justin. Now that we all lost our appetites after those pictures, let's answer poll question number 2, which is, who currently tests your emergency equipment? Your choices are your company personnel, third party, me, no one, or not applicable. Thank you guys very much for getting those answers in. Again, super, super helpful for us.
And by me, when not Samantha.
But I like it too. I get FOMO. Thank you guys so much for all the participation. I'll go ahead and close this poll out right now.
Thank you very much. Okay, and continuing, what are you going to need? What is required for you to have in hand to get this done? Well, you're going to need a tape measure. You're going to need an eye wash gauge. Okay, these are designed by the standard. It tells us exactly how to make one, and we have done that for you. That's our model 9015, included in our model 9011 that you see there on the right-hand side. Includes all those tools. You'll need a 5-gallon bucket with the 2-gallon water line marked, and I'll show you exactly how to use that soon. You'll need a shower sock and a pole, because they call it a drenched shower for a reason, and you're going to want to protect yourself and collect that water so that we can measure the amount going into the bucket. You also need a thermometer, because we're going to want to test the temperature of the water coming out of the combination unit. Okay. You also need a checklist, because we want to be thorough. We want to make sure we get to everything. Okay. Again, our model 9011, you're going to want to find something like that or piece together those tools, but that is what's ideal. This is what you're going to need to get from this through this from start to finish. Now to get into the actual requirements and how to test for those things. Number 1, needs to be accessible within 10 seconds, 55 feet. Okay, 10 seconds is based on the amount of time that it will likely take for you to start suffering permanent damage from whatever it's that you're exposed to. Okay, we want to avoid that. And we want to make sure that the equipment is as close as possible to you and to the hazard upon your exposure, so that you can very quickly get that substance off of you or out of your eyes. Okay, 55 feet just gives us a good measurable distance. Anywhere within that 55-foot range is fine, but closest is best. Okay, there is nothing that extends that range. Okay, and which helps us to determine how much emergency equipment we need within our facilities. Where's the hazard? Is the equipment within 55 feet? No, then, well, we need another one, and it's got to be close to that hazard. Okay, it also has to be free of obstructions. I put some of the sillier ones that I have found personally and over there on the right, but this is very real These are unfortunately real photos and situations, and none of which I would like to run into if I didn't have very good use of my eyes and I was panicking. So it has to be completely free of obstruction. We can't have an obstacle course on the way to the emergency equipment if we have been unfortunately exposed to something. Now, the equipment has to be located on the same level as the hazard. We can't have changes in level, and you need to confirm that there is an equal level between the hazard and the emergency equipment. We can't have containment berms, stairs and steps, things of that nature, or concrete steps up and things of that nature, platforms between them and as you transition to the equipment. Just confirm it is a nice, even, level surface. The equipment needs to be well lit and easily identifiable with highly visible signage. And the reasoning is here on the right. This could be very difficult to spot and to get to if you were in, say, a large working area at a plant, pulp and paper mill, chemical refinery, etc. We want these to be as highly visible as possible. Because again, you may not have very good use of your eyes. It may very well hurt or be incredibly uncomfortable to utilize your vision, and hopefully somebody's there guiding you, yelling and screaming instructions. But that's not always the case. And so you want to be able to spot it and move towards it very quickly. So make sure that the area is well lit. You have that good looking signage in there. Also deliver, the equipment has to deliver flushing fluid for a full 15 minutes, okay? Which means running the equipment for 15 minutes. And, or I should say, there are some instances and areas where it's very difficult to do that. All right, on an annual basis, you can plan ahead and you can say, all right, well, in the clean room, at the lab, we need to have the room, serviced at this time of year. Let's plan to have our emergency equipment fully tested for a full 15 minutes in the lab during that service day or whatever. Make sure that you're utilizing that time and getting that done. And check your facility's capabilities, the hot water tank, the mixing valve, instantaneous heaters, etc., and so on, to ensure that those are capable of doing full 15. The outlets have to be protected from airborne contaminants, which means dust covers. Got to have dust covers in place, either on the actual heads of the device or over the device. And if it is over the device, like you see here on the photo, that's our dust cover for the 7501. It has that bright handle. You want to be able to grab that, tear it down, and activate the equipment at the same time, which brings me to that second requirement on the screen. The dust cover must be self-removing. If you at all have to take additional steps to grab the dust covers and remove them and etc., or modify them, that is non-compliant. It has to pop off all by itself, either via activation and the water flow, or other means is fine, but upon activation, no additional steps to remove that dust cover. Now, the equipment has to go from off to on in 1 second or less. There is a misconception out there that the standard itself reads that there is a one motion activation, and this is incorrect. You must be able to activate the equipment and within 1 second have the activation of the equipment and water at the heads of the device. Okay, so generally you want that activation to be as simple as possible. Push paddle, pull rod, these are super normal items for activating emergency equipment and incredibly common. Okay, now what you want to watch out for when it comes to that, so off to on, is self-closing valves or situations that prevent off to on in 1 second or less, and hands-free operation. All emergency equipment has to be hands-free. Upon activation, you should be able to let it go entirely, and it must be manually closed. If you were running into these older globe valves with the handle and the chain that will self-close, those have to be replaced. Okay. look for the giant springs on there and etc. These are all self-closing. Those have to go. Okay. Now, the other situation you want to look for is there on the right. Not only is, if you're thinking about the height of that sink, and you should be, is the eye wash positioned at almost like eye level, which is kind of crazy. Not everybody's that tall, but the eye washes are facing the wall. There's no way I could activate that, let go, and utilize that because I have other things I want to deal with. I need to open my eyelids and remove clothing and do that type of stuff and deal with this emergency. I can't be handling this as well, right? I can rub my belly and pat my head at the same time, but I can't hold the equipment open, hold my eyes open, remove clothing, and do all these things at the same time. There's also a self-closing valve on that, which is a big no-no. Now, eye washes must deliver 0.4 gallons per minute for 1.5 liters, an eye face wash 3 gallons per minute or 11.4 liters, and a shower 20 gallons per minute or 75.7 liters. And this is per minute. Each piece of equipment, as you would find it in a combination unit, would be a combination of these different requirements. So for instance, an eye face wash and drench shower, which is the most ideal as far as full body decontamination goes and ensuring that you're really getting those chemicals off of you, would be 23 GPM at a bare minimum. Haws equipment, for instance, comes in just over that GPM requirement, but not all equipment is made the same. GPM requirements, as far as there is no maximum, so you can get some pretty intense flow out of some of the equipment out there. So be careful, and I'll cover why here in just a moment, or immediately. The flow, both from the shower and the eye face wash or eye wash, has to be a controlled flow of flushing fluid, and it has to be at a velocity that is low enough to be non-injurious to the user. Okay, so while we have a minimum GPM, we don't have a maximum GPM, but you have to be careful. If you're plumbing a 2-inch line with an insane PSI to a piece of emergency equipment, what's going to happen is you are going to get things like we call these brain washers or ceiling tile washers. That's too much flow. That's injurious. There's no chance you could put your face in that for 15 minutes, which is the bare minimum, and come out of that feeling good about it at all. As a matter of fact, it would probably be the last eye wash you ever use. That's too much. That's injurious, and we have to do something about it. The flip side of that is what you see on the right, right? The pick your favorite eye. There's not enough water here, and we're splitting the water path. The fewer heads on the device, the better. In this instance, we don't have enough water. The water's preferring that right-hand side eye wash, or the other one's clogged. Maybe I do see some water coming out of it, and we have an uneven flow rate. Okay, we have to watch out for pull situations. Now, this is an eye wash gauge. Again, that's the drawing straight from the standard. They told us how to make this thing. The eye wash gauge, incredibly useful. Okay, now the flow of water can go as high as 53 inches, which I'll cover here in a second. The gauge, I'll show you how to use it. You want to start at 8 inches above the heads of the device. Okay, the flow may go over that 8 inches. That doesn't matter. But you start the gauge at 8 inches and slowly lower it. With between 8 inches and 0, as long as the gauge aligns with the eye wash streams, then it is compliant. And the gauge itself is based on average human anthropometrics. So unless you're built like Sloth from the Goonies, our eyes are generally in the same place. And you'll be absolutely able to utilize the eye wash in general. Okay, so what we're focusing on are those 2 dedicated eye wash streams, which is not the norm for most emergency equipment. You can have an eye face wash that doesn't have dedicated eye streams. That's okay, but it has to fill those eye circles. On our equipment, we just have the dedicated streams. But this is a nice overhead view that kind of gives you a good idea of what that's supposed to look like. Now, The water flow from the eye wash or eye face wash has to be between the very top of the flow, has to be anywhere between 33 to 53 inches. We are all built differently, okay? We generally have a fairly standardized size for eye washes and eye face washes, but you have to be cautious about ensuring that your facility is providing the correct equipment for your employees. So if you have somebody that's on the shorter side, you're going to need an eye wash or eye face wash that can accommodate that person. And so we have seen some eye washes and eye face washes that can be a bit lower. Generally, speaking though, the height of the eye washes are fairly standardized, and that's to ensure that that flow rate, the water, is coming in under 53 inches total from the floor. The heads of the device also have to be free of obstruction. Okay, and that's 6 inches around the heads of the device, and that's just to ensure we don't have any obstructions, piping, anything like that that's going to obstruct you from utilizing the eye wash. Okay, just use a tape measure around it, and ensure that you're fully compliant. Now the shower, what we want to do here to measure the flow of water coming out of the combo unit or the standalone shower, although it should be a combo unit. That's much more in line with industry standard. It's unusual to find showers by themselves these days, other than like they utilize like our SP829, our shower heads in like ambulance bays or mass emergency stations and things like that. So the equipment that you'll need is that 5-gallon bucket with the 2-gallon water line marked, shower sock and pole, and the thermometer. Step 1, throw the thermometer in the bottom of the bucket or gently place it. You don't have to be that aggressive about it, but put it in the bucket. Place the shower sock around the shower head and into the bucket. Activate the eye wash or eye face wash if one is present, and then activate the shower for 6 seconds. Do your 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Lastly, just ensure that the 2-gallon water level mark on the bucket is being met. Okay, we're doing the same thing that a nurse would do at the hospital, right? He or she will grab your wrist and count your pulse, but they're not going to do it for a full 60 seconds. They're just going to do the math in their head, and that's what we're doing, right? 6 seconds and 2 gallons times 10, 60 seconds, 20 gallons. That's what we're measuring. And so long as that line is met, we are good to go. The shower flow pattern also must be measured. This can be difficult because you have to have the flow fully unsheathed. You cannot have the shower sock over the flow pattern. So grab your tape measure, measure 60 inches up off of the surface floor where the victim would be standing, and then 20 inches across. This is, again, average human shoulder spacing, anthropometrics. This ensuring if you're standing under the flow pattern, you will fit. And you can see the consequences of not having a full shower flow pattern there on the right. It's too narrow. It's not going to fully wash you, and you have to be careful. Another thing to watch out for that is not in the standard is on these flow patterns is when you're utilizing the shower bell, like you see there on the left-hand side photo, it is striking a plate in the middle of the shower head and then utilizing the shower bell, and it creates a ring of water around the user. Ensure that your flow pattern is thorough, that it's fully covering the user, okay? This is really important. I call it the donut effect, which I think is a great way of reminding it or remembering it. But ensure that the victim is, in fact, getting fully washed. We're not worried about the area around the user. So check that flow pattern. It's not a part of the standard, but it is an important thing to check. Call it a best practice. So here's my buddy Bill. He just hit 46 years at Haws, which is just wild. That's so awesome. His office over down the hall is like packed full of balloons. He is a wonderful coworker and retiring soon, which is going to make me very sad. But he is, as you can see, proper technique, 60 inches up, 20 inches across, pretending like he's taking it really seriously, and it's awesome. So just use the tape measure and measure up. Now the shower head on this safety shower or combo unit, whatever, the shower head, the outlet of water has to be between 82 to 96 inches from the floor. This is very important, okay? If it's too low, it's going to be too narrow. If it's too high, it's going to be too widespread, and it's not going to properly flush the victim. The pull rod, so use your tape measure from the floor to the outlet of water, measure as long as it's within that range, you're good. Same thing with the pull rod. Grab your tape measure, measure from the floor to the bottom of the pull rod, right where you would grab it, okay? That distance cannot be any greater than 69 inches from the floor. That's the maximum height. And that's to ensure that at a shorter height, you're able to grab the pull rod easily access that and activate it, okay? If it's too high, we do not want to exclude anybody from activating the emergency equipment. It's really important. Also, combination units. So the shower and the eye face wash, these have to be positioned for one person to use it at the same time. These aren't for separate instances. So if you see your emergency equipment and the shower is facing in the wrong direction from the eye face wash and they're not aligned, that has to be fixed. They also have to operate simultaneously. This is one of the sneakiest compliance issues out there. Oftentimes because the shower is not being tested. When activating the shower, because it's using way much more water than the eye face wash or the eye wash, preferably an eye face wash, the water will take the path of least resistance, and that's through the shower. And if there's no flow control, then it is going to starve the eye face wash, and you will get a fully activated shower with no water left for your eye face wash. And now you've got to make a tough decision. Do I need the shower running and I need to save my skin, or do I want something running for my eyes and my face because I want to protect my good looks? So you have to make that decision, and that's not something that we should force somebody to do, okay? So activate both. Ensure that you are activating that shower. It's really important. Now, shutoff valves. Also very important that these are locked in the open position. Okay, we don't want just anybody walking by able to turn off the water for the equipment. That would cost a victim valuable time to trace the line back and activate the supply line to ensure that there is water at the heads of the device. I do surveys for Haws. I've done them all over the country, and I can tell you that you will find emergency equipment that has just been shut off. Nobody's testing them, so they're unfamiliar, and maybe it was just there was some sort of maintenance that had to be done and they forgot to turn it back on or something like that. But I find if you put a lotto device or a lock, something like that in place, it will help to remind you to go reopen that and lock it open. Okay, you don't want unauthorized shutoffs. Definitely teach your employees where the emergency equipment is located and how to utilize the emergency equipment. Both are incredibly important. Okay, there are some silly videos out there on YouTube telling you how to test your employees and on how to find it, like throwing goggles on them with grease smeared on the inside. Don't do that. Just ask them, where's your nearest eye face wash, shower, and how do you activate it? What's the activation method? This is important because not all manufacturers are made the same. Generally, we focus on a push paddle and a pull rod. That's certainly here at Haws because that's industry norm. That's something you're familiar with. But there are others out there, and they're not activated that way. And there's nothing saying that it has to be a pull rod. It could be a push flag. It could be a foot treadle, etc. So the employees need to understand, how is that activated? Where freezing conditions exist, certainly up north, ensure that the emergency equipment is freeze protected. This is usually heat traced to protect the internal supply line and piping of the emergency equipment to ensure you're going to get proper functionality. Also self-draining shower head and self-draining eye face wash head. Okay. the equipment you see here on the screen is typically what you're going to run into. As a matter of fact, the big brother of the 8315 CTFB, our 8317 CTFB, is one of the most widely used outdoor heat trace combo showers in the world. So if you're thinking about outdoor emergency equipment, that's probably what you're thinking of, is that green jacket. So ensure it's powered or it's self-draining or whatever, but it has to be freeze protected from the weather. So go test your weather in the worst part of the year, right? Don't pick like May or like September to go test your emergency equipment. Pick your worst months and go ensure that they're non-freezing and they're working right. The water from the emergency equipment has to be between 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius for my homies up north. The emergency equipment water has to be within that range. Okay, this will help to ensure that the victim is actually going to stay in the 15-minute flush. We have certainly heard stories of victims having to be forced into the water because it's too cold. But what they're dealing with is too dangerous. And we don't want to do that. We aim for 85 degrees on everything. All of our equipment, actually, as a matter of fact, all that equipment you see there on the screen, 85 degrees. Try to aim for something that, it's not your home shower, right? It's not a nice warm home shower, but it is non-reactive, and it's you won't risk things like hypothermia. If it's too cold, hypothermia can add a lot of issues and a lot of additional concerns when you get to the hospital. Cold shock, possible cardiac arrest. We do not want to risk those things, and potentially you've been exposed to something corrosive. So the outer layer, the insulation of your body is already damaged. You are going to lose heat very quickly. So ensure that it is a proper temperature. It's within that range, preferably on the higher side, closer to 85 is ideal. Okay. Now, if it is too hot, right? Hyperthermia, we're heating up too quickly, heat stroke, confusion, and the confusion, very dangerous. You want to be able to communicate with your first responders and with the people helping you. What were you exposed to, right? And things of that nature. You need to be able to communicate. Scalding of the soft tissue and eyes starts at 100 degrees. You won't, I mean, nobody would stand up and, stare into your home shower at 105, 110 degrees, right? That'd be pretty crazy. Skin burns start after 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's slow, but it will do its damage. So please keep those temperatures down. Also, you may have a negative reaction with certain chemicals, popping and almost like a boiling with certain corrosives and things of that nature. So be very careful. Now, supplemental equipment, squeeze bottles are, and this is another slide that's hard not to laugh at, but it's unfortunate. These are very real photos. Okay. They are either missing or expired, or they've been replaced with something silly. Supplemental equipment squeeze bottles are exactly what it says at the top, supplemental. They are only to be used if you have primary plumbed emergency equipment, 15-minute capable emergency equipment nearby. Okay, so be careful. I think you have you got the burn it out option on the left. I think that's maybe toilet cleaner on the second photo. I really don't, maybe a better wine label on the third one. That one doesn't sound so bad. But you definitely want two, right? If you want to crack those open, you want one for each eye. The next one's frozen on the back of the truck. Be cautious of that weather, right? A couple of big gulps, and then you got the old spoon and knife just in case it's gone too far, I guess. You really ensure that equipment is present, it's being replaced regularly, and it's not being allowed to expire. Okay. Now, a couple installation considerations. One, I told you no changes in level early on in the webinar. You are allowed a single step as long as it is into an enclosure, just like you see here on the screen, like the 8605 or 8606. You are allowed one single change in level, step up, because this type of equipment cannot be made flush with the ground. This is designed to capture that water and to limit exposure of the water or contaminants to processes outside of this cabinet. Okay, it's designed to be contained. So ensure that you are allowed one step, but that's it, and it has to be into a booth. Otherwise, the changes in level are a no-no. You can have a door, but it has to meet certain criteria. Okay, it has to be non-locking. The doors have to open in the direction of the emergency equipment. The hazard has to be non-corrosive. The second we're dealing with a corrosive hazard, you have to have emergency equipment in the room with you. Okay. Now, if there's the potential for that hazard to become a spray or make the room hazardous, well, then you'll probably want emergency equipment on the inside of that room for a lower level hazard so they can rinse off. Or if it becomes a more extreme hazard, they want to be able to exit that room, have the proper doors in place, and have emergency equipment on the other side of those doors so they can get their first aid rinse in safety. The doors have to also be push bar or panic bar operated so that they can push and move through those doors very easily. That will bring us to poll question number 3.
Thanks, Justin. All right, we're halfway through our poll questions, and your third question of the day is, what are your primary ANSI compliance issues? Please check all that apply, but please do not answer if not applicable. And keep in mind, this is your only multiple choice question, so take full advantage and tell us all of your issues. Thank you. Your options are accessible location, tepid water, injurious or uncontrolled flow, low flow or uneven flow, and eye wash and shower simultaneous flow issues. Alrighty, thank you guys for your participation once again. Like I said, we're halfway through, and I appreciate you guys sticking around for this one. I'll go ahead and end the poll.
End the poll and take over. It's all you.
All right, my time to shine, everyone. We've been doing this here at Haws for a little bit now, and over the years, we have accumulated some best practices, and we'd like to share them here with you guys. Number 1, remove your contacts if you wear them, and do not rub your eyes, no matter how tempting it may be. Make sure to disrobe completely. That's including your socks and shoes. Provide privacy curtains just to conserve some modesty for employees. Do not remove PPE before entering the equipment. You're supposed to wear it for a reason, so make sure you activate the unit and then you take it off. Be cautious while assisting to not contaminate yourself or others. Ensure correct type of signage. It would be horrible if we look for a combination unit and all we have is an eye wash. I would not be happy. This should go without saying, but here I am saying it, so we're going to go over it. Be cautious of proximity to electrical components. And general rule of thumb, locate other first aid equipment nearby. You can make a little safety section. And make sure you're cleaning your equipment regularly. And right here, if we have any Office fans, this is, of course, Andy Bernard, the Nard dog, in action. And though this is a silly clip, he's actually using great eye washing technique. So we managed to slide this into today's masterclass. All right, now we're going to go over ANSI Z358.1-2017, and this goes over appropriate hazard color coding. So we have red, which is a danger or stop. That means emergency bar or button on machinery. Yellow goes into caution, so tripping, falling, striking. Orange is a warning, so parts of the machinery or equipment may cut, crush, or otherwise injure. Green is safety, which is the manufacturing's color for the webinar you're attending right now. And then blue goes over policies, not immediately safety related. It could be company policies, etc. And then any other color is definable by the user as needed.
As Sam stated, this is kind of a big bragging point for us. The location of safety equipment is our primary color as a manufacturer, which I think is awesome. Everybody else is using orange or yellow or whatever, but we're the green guys.
Thanks, Justin. Let's go over some Haws site surveys. This is a great program. And I'm here to tell you the truth about compliance rates and give you just a few resources to help get you back into compliance if that's something you're dealing with. So here at Haws, surprise, surprise, we run site surveys. We've been running these for a very long time. And over those years, we compile all the data to see the percentage of units that are actually meeting full compliance. And that's what you see on the chart right there. 8 out of 10 attendees believe that over half their equipment meets the ANSI standards when really 78% of emergency equipment is non-compliant. That's the huge red slice that you see on your screen right there. These are non-compliant performance-related issues. So when you see injuries or uneven flow rates, starvation, that would fall under that category. And also on the chart, the 10% that you see accounts for non-compliant other, and that's any issue not related to performance. So that could be missing or incorrect signage, dust covers weren't on the unit, anything like that. Overall, we see only 12% of units are actually fully compliant. So clearly a lot can go wrong when it comes to compliance, but no worries. That's what our site surveys are for. And the best part about those surveys, they're completely free. You'll get a full one-day inspection completed by professionals who are trained in the ANSI standard. Haws itself has over 75 years in the emergency equipment game, so we know what we're doing. You can trust us. Keep in mind, restrictions apply depending on how many units are at your facility, but we do make sure to complete as many as possible in one day. You'll also receive a full inspection report that will include photos and evidence of any non-compliant areas that we find, as well as an executive summary chart. Recommendations are given in the report, so you will have solutions to the issues if we find them. And an awesome perk is that you are given access to a subject matter expert who debriefs those findings with you. And this is all completely confidential. We're great secret keepers here at Haws. And once again, all free. Who doesn't love that? This is a great program. It'll give you insights to help you reach full compliance. And if anything I just mentioned sparks your interest, then poll question number 4 is up your alley. And this asks, would you be interested in a free site survey of your existing emergency equipment for ANSI compliance? And your choices are yes, no, or not applicable. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to get those answers in. If you want to meet us for a free site survey, we got you. Thank you very much. I see a great participation, so I'll go ahead and end the poll in a few seconds.
It might even be me. I might come pay you a visit.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll sway your answer, but. All right, next thing I'm going to cover is our Haws Services program. I'm sure you guys are super busy people, and I'm assuming there's a lot going on in your facilities, whatever the reason may be. It could be short-staffed, or you have way too many things on your to-do list, or you just have too many units to inspect yourself. Whatever the case, Haws Services will come in and fix all of your issues as far as compliance goes. Just like how you outsource maintenance on AEDs, first aid kits, or fire extinguishers, I highly recommend outsourcing for your emergency equipment needs. Haws Services sends a fully qualified professional to you. They're trained to work on any piece of equipment from any manufacturer. So if you have Haws or Speakman, Guardian, all of them could be a mixed bunch. We'll take them. And keep in mind, they will also come out to any type of facility. Haws Services provides a comprehensive site evaluation with training on how to test your equipment. And just between us, the Haws Services techs are so smart, so amazing. They're not only going to give you the evaluation and training, but they're also going to fix all the issues they find, which is probably the best part. The services they offer are next level. They do weekly and annual testing for you, preventative maintenance and contracts, repairs and upgrades. They also do startup commissioning on new equipment if you're looking into more complicated units like maybe our skids. And as I mentioned, they also offer online training and certification, as well as warranty service, which is awesome. And if that sounds up your alley, you can visit us on our website, hawsco.com, or we'll do the hard work for you and you can say yes to this poll question, and we'll come find you and reach out to you and send someone out for you. So would you be interested in learning more about Haws services, about how Haws services can help you achieve ANSI compliance? Your choices are yes, no, or not applicable. And this is our last poll question of the day, so let's make sure we end on a high note. Thank you guys so much for your participation. I can't wait to look back at all of these responses. Thanks, everyone. I'll go ahead and end the poll. Alrighty, and then we are done with the polls, but please make sure to stick around. We're going to do a quick Q&A after we go over a few resources from Justin.
Yeah, so we're going to jump into our contact page and use it as kind of a soft close for the webinar. We want you to have this information. Be sure to save this or take a picture of it, etc. This will be all resources available to you and sent to you afterwards too. But I would like to be a resource for you, but even more important and more knowledgeable. Haws customer service. These are our people, our problem solvers. These are the people. Okay. 775-359-4712 or toll free 888-640-4297. I would definitely save that toll free number and that email. These are our professional problem solvers and switchboard operators, right? They will either have a solution for you and the answer for you, or they know exactly who to get on the phone for you so that we can get you that solution. We want to be good partners to you. We want to be good neighbors and help you with the problems that you have. We got that cup of sugar for you, okay? So reach out to us, let us know what you need, and we will be happy to help you with whatever that is. Also visit www.hawsco.com. That is, our website is second to none. It's packed full of resources, videos, webinars, photos, specs, product information, everything you can imagine. And it's so easy to navigate, so easy to find what you need. I would highly recommend doing that. While you're there, I would highly suggest signing up for the newsletter. Okay. This is not overwhelming. We're not going to flood your inbox or anything like that, but it is useful information on emergency equipment or hydration, which is the other side of our business, bottle fillers and drinking fountains and site hydration. So please sign up for that e-newsletter, and the webinars are also listed on there. Okay. We also have a live chat function. If you don't have time to hop on a phone call, or maybe you're a little shy, hit that live chat and you can chat with our customer service team and get your answers that way as well. Okay. With that, and I'll put this on back at the end of the webinar too, we're going to get into the Q&A. So we've had some questions, lots of questions submitted so far, and what we have at this point, Sam and I are going to go over. So let's get going.
Awesome. The first question comes from Ken. To your knowledge, how many countries utilize the ANSI Z358.1 standard? Thanks for the question, Ken.
It's also kind of tough to answer. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but ANSI ISEA Z358.1 and the EN 15154 standard, parts 1 and 2, are the most widespread, most widely utilized standards in the world. And it's almost like, it almost feels like 50-50. I think Z358.1 is probably the most utilized, but the two standards are very similar. they have their differences, but the majority of the standards really align in what's required and what should be the focus of the performance and placement and all the measurements and things like that. They align quite a bit. And so anywhere in the world, you're going to end up finding one of those. I think it's generally Z358.1, and that is the most utilized. And that means Canada, the US, Mexico, South America, and many other places in the world.
All right, Diane asks, does the same requirements and references apply to the 1926 OSHA requirements? What section references eyewashes?
Yeah, so the 1926 is construction, while the 1910 standards are general industry. In the 1926 OSHA requirements, it is 1926.50, section G, that references eyewash, and it's almost exactly the same thing as 1910.151C under first aid requirements and things of that nature. It's the same under 1926. It's just a different section, but that information that I provided early on in the webinar is exactly the same for both. And there's no additional information, which is kind of a bummer. We need more, which is why we have Z358.1 to reference so that we can comply with both 1926.50 and 1910.10 or 151.
Alrighty, next question is, are tempering systems for showers required if the facility temperature is within the ANSI temp range? That comes from Sam. Great question, and even better name, Sam.
Yeah, so I've got to start muting myself when you talk. I'm always giggling in the background.
Please don't.
Tempering, yeah, are tempering systems for showers required if the facility temp is within? So with that, kind of yes and no. Compliance in a facility is a lot like ADA compliance. And it's not one piece of equipment that is making overall compliance. It's a lot of different solutions and situations and things of that nature that will comprise compliance. So in this instance, so if I was making up a facility, right? And say it's here in Sparks, Nevada, that's where we're headquartered. The facility may be like a really nice, 70 something degrees during the day, or 80 or something like that. Or maybe that's too hot. But the facility temperature is great. The groundwater that will probably eventually be getting pulled into the emergency equipment is not. So you're going to get the temperature of the water in the walls for a little while, depending on how big your facility is and how close that emergency equipment is to the outer edge of your facility. So it's usually a mix. Sometimes you're using your hot and cold water lines to mix the water using one of our mixing valves to the emergency equipment and creating 85 degree water for the victim. Or if you're not utilizing that, something like that, you're just using your normal supply line in the water, the cold water line, you're going to get that temperature for a while. And I would highly suggest running the equipment long enough to determine if you're going to be able to meet 15 minutes of that temperature of water. Okay, because you will eventually start pulling. It'll change. It'll either be cold groundwater or whatever. It could be water from a different section of your facility that's at a different temperature that may be exposed to something really, really hot. So test at the very start and then retest the temperature after a couple minutes just to ensure that you're getting consistent water. But tempering systems are awesome for any facility, and they usually make up some sort of compliance, the picture of compliance inside that facility. Tempering skid, instantaneous heaters, etc. So thank you, Sam.
Anytime, Justin. Next question comes from Kelsey. Kelsey asks how to test portable eye washes.
Oh, so yeah. So on portable eye washes, all it takes is a visit to the emergency equipment and a visual inspection. Okay, that's both for pressurized units and for gravity fed units. So like our 7501 tank or the pressurized 7603 keg style eye wash. Both are just a visual inspection. You're ensuring that the water line is being met or that the pressure gauge is reading the manufacturer's required amount of pressure to ensure that you're getting a full 15 minutes. So visually inspect the units, ensure the water or the pressure is being met and the fill lines, sign the test tag, and you're done. There's no need for actual activation. However, depending on what you're using to keep the water clean, you may have more frequent maintenance. So for instance, if you're using like a bacteriostatic preservative, R9082, then that's 4 months at a time. It'll keep that water clean. But if you're using our 9083, which is a drop-in solution, it's a solid device. It'll keep that water clean for 3 years. But annually, you still have to activate the equipment to meet your 15-minute requirement. So generally speaking, it's just a visual inspection once a year, an actual activation, and so on.
All right. Is there anything that defines free space in front of or around the equipment? And do you have to paint the area? This is from Anonymous. Very mysterious.
Mysterious. So with this, yeah, there is, and there used to be a requirement a long time ago, which is why you still run into them. Emergency equipment with like a background or the floor space painted around it, which I still think is a best practice. I think that's great. If I see emergency equipment in a facility and they've painted a do not obstruct area around the emergency equipment, that's awesome. That's great. And it makes it much more highly visible. But it used to be in the standard and they had removed it. We currently have a obstruction-free space from the center of the flow pattern for the shower by 16 inches. So 32 inches wide of space in front of the unit for the spray pattern has to be free of obstruction. Also, you have a space requirement for the eye washes, but it's only 6 inches in every direction. So I would say 32 inches wide underneath the shower head. And then, I still highly suggest painting the area in front of it is a really good practice.
All right, next question from Rocco. Do you have recommendations for an eye wash station for extremely cold regions?
Yeah, so I showed a couple of them on the webinar earlier, but the 7603 T will include our pressurized keg system with a jacket that is heat traced and will protect that water down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. All you need is a 120 volt outlet, or similarly, a 7501 with our heat trace jacket, 7501T, or 7501BL, which is the actual the blanket product. If you already have 7501s, the gravity-fed plastic tanks, you can throw that jacket on there, and in a similar fashion to the keg that I just mentioned, will protect that water to a great degree from the freezing, and all you need to do is plug it into the wall. The best practice is plumbed, an 8317 CTFP, cable trace freeze protected CTFP. Plumb it, power it with electricity, and it is negative 30, and it will down to negative 30, and will protect that unit year round. I would also suggest throwing a scald valve on it if it gets hot during the summer. So for instance, Nevada, Sparks, hot during the summer, cold during the winter. We have both in great degree, and the CTFP is perfect year round. So we can add a scald valve, and it will purge that hot water. It comes automatically with a freeze valve that will purge freezing water until that water normalizes inside of the unit too, as an emergency backup to ensure that the unit won't freeze. But yeah, any of those are great solutions.
Awesome. Does the water need to be saline or specialized water in any way, or is it just city water? Thank you so much for the question, Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen. No, it just has to be clean, potable water. That's how it's defined in the standard. It doesn't have to be any more complicated, but other than that, saline water is fine. But it really just has to be clean, potable water. So for instance, to bring it up again, the 7501, the gravity-fed tank that you're hanging on the wall, or one of our carts, all you need to do is open the cap, and as long as it's clean, potable water, fill up the tank, and you're all set. Or plumb it to your city water, and you're good to go.
What is the most ideal solution for a construction site needs to be mobile from Fen?
My favorite solution, so I have two. One is a newer product. Our 7501 now has a line of carts and stands that can be utilized to improve the overall compliance for your facility. What's great about this is that you have your 7501, and normally what you would have to do is you get a J bracket that's included with the unit, and you would hang that on a wall somewhere in the facility, hang the unit, and then you can just dismantle that and take it with you and put it somewhere else. But with the cart, our 9007, all you have to do now is you can place that anywhere, and it comes with a catch tank. So you activate the equipment, and it's a wheeled cart. You can plant that anywhere on the construction site. Add our 7501 BL jacket to it and freeze protect it, or you can also add a dust cover or a heat shield, which is super cool now. So we have a full line of accessories for the 7501, basically for like any situation. The 9128 is that dust cover, and that thing is awesome. Okay. But those are great. Also, the 7603 it has a mobile, what is it, a hand truck basically, and you can just drop that in place, fill it with water, use pressurized air to charge it to 75 psi, and then just it's hands off. You're set with as long as you use that 9082 to preserve the water for 4 months, and you're good to go for a great deal of time. It has very little maintenance, and it will serve that construction site really, really well. Thanks for that question.
Okay, next question comes from Mohammed. Is there a grandfather clause included in the standard, or must we adhere to whatever the most recent release is?
And so the second part, you have to adhere to whatever the most recent version of the standard is. There are states and there's places that you'll find where they're referencing old versions of the standard. There's no grandfather clause. There's nothing in there saying that you have to meet this criteria, or and you don't have to adhere to whatever the most recent version is, or whatever, or there's exceptions. There are no exceptions. It's whatever the current version of the standard is. However, you will find old references out there, and those are incorrect. You have to adhere to currently 2014.
Alrighty. How long do you activate the equipment if the dead leg is short versus a great distance? And that question was from Casey. Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, that's difficult to gauge in your facility, and I would suggest measuring it and calculating the volume. And if you know the GPM for your shower head on the emergency equipment, then you can calculate about how long you have to have that running for. So calculate the pipe size, the volume held in that size of pipe, which is a pretty easy calculation. Google's free, but that will tell you how much water is held in that dead leg, and just about how long you need to run that dead leg to really get a good cleaning out of that system. So I would highly suggest looking that up. If it's nice and short, I do a 6-second test still, so on a pretty regular basis, so I can still ensure that we're getting our 2-gallon water line met on the bucket, because I'm going to end up using it anyways to catch the water. So I would highly suggest doing that as well. 6 seconds is a great test if it's short, or even if you can see the source of the water, the tank or whatever. Otherwise, calculate the volume of the line and determine the GPM usage of the shower head, and then you can determine how long those need to be activated. Thank you, Casey. Which will bring us back to that closing. So hard close. Contact us. Reach out to us. Go forth and utilize the Z358.1 standard to spread the word and improve compliance and improve your overall employees' experience at work. And contact us if you have questions, if you need answers to what you just learned about. We're here for you. So, Samantha and I are both technical experts on the standard. There's a reason we have to do the webinar. We know our stuff. So again, my name, Justin Dunn, Field Marketing Manager. That's my email right there. Customer service, definitely save that. That's so much more useful than my information. But both are great to have, and visit hawsco.com. There are additional resources on there for the standard, how to comply, products to help you achieve compliance, and so on, and use that live chat. Also sign up for the e-newsletter. Trust me, you won't regret it. It's awesome. Anything from you, Samantha?
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. I had a great time.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and let us know if you need anything, and stay compliant.